Leadership conversations usually focus on momentum. What's next? What's changing? What needs to be fixed? But the longer I sit with leaders, the more I realize the harder questions show up when momentum slows. What do you do when certainty disappears? How do you stay grounded when the system changes around you? And how do you keep your judgment sharp without losing your humanity in the process? That's where today's conversation goes. I'm joined by Kara Schlageter, a people-first cybersecurity and technology leader who has spent her career helping organizations navigate change without losing trust. This isn't a conversation about tools or trends for their own sake. It's about curiosity over fear, judgment over automation, and what it really means to stay human when leadership gets uncomfortable. So let's start there. All right, welcome to the show, Kara.
Hi, Jason. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really happy to be here.
I am super excited about this conversation. It is Drink Coffee, Do Cool Stuff. How do you take your coffee and why?
So I actually don't drink coffee anymore.
Okay.
It took a while for me to wean it off. I love the ritual of having that warm cup of coffee in the morning. I usually do the Wordle or connections or the games on LinkedIn. Like it just, keep your brain fresh and do it over a warm cup of coffee. But I am a migraine sufferer, and I have a friend who is an acupuncturist and a Chinese medicine doctor, and she suggested I wean myself off of coffee. And I said, well, how do you suggest I do that? And she asked me if I had tried mushroom coffee. And so
Okay.
I started not drinking true coffee and drinking mushroom coffee. And I liked it. Okay. And then 1 month, my mushroom coffee supplier sent me the wrong thing. And they sent me mushroom matcha. And I really
Okay.
do matcha. So now I really drink tea. I drink matcha. I do take it with a little bit of milk, usually almond milk, oat milk, something that's dairy free. A little bit of sweetener, maybe a little agave, honey, or sometimes some like stevia. I don't do sugar.
Okay.
And I like it. It has adaptogens. I feel like it's a little bit healthier, but it still gives me that boost and that ritual of having that warm cup in the morning.
That is awesome. Okay, so you're the first mushroom beverage drinker
Oh, really?
on here. I had some questions. I thought
Well,
you
I
were
like
going to go
eating
someplace completely different. And then she sent me some mushrooms that were not what I ordered. And then I had them in the morning. And so I thought that was going to go completely different.
No, it's all legit, all legit.
All legit. Um, so what's it taste like? How's it taste? I mean,
Yeah, so
it comes
mushroom
across my feed because I, of course, go figure out. Well, my feed has a lot of like coffee stuff on it, but occasionally it says you should try this
yeah,
brand of
yeah. So
mushroom coffee. So
there's a couple different brands, and I've
okay,
tried a couple different ones, and the one that I like the best is called Rise,
okay,
RYZ. It's
I've seen it on my
definitely
feed.
I think it has like an earthier flavor than coffee, but
Okay.
still has that kind of like coffee flavor. It's not as you don't get the roasted flavor that you get from coffee when you're, drinking roasted coffee beans that are ground, obviously. The only complaint that I have about it is sometimes it settles and you have to kind of like stir it up.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
Drinking it. So if you don't keep stirring it or you don't drink it fast enough, you might have, some ground, I don't know what you call them, but the sediment at the bottom of
Okay.
the coffee cup, which apparently I have friends that can read those and tell you it's their future.
It reads like I didn't drink it fast enough.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Or I didn't stir enough. But yeah, I don't think the flavor is too terribly different from coffee. It's just a little bit earthier flavor.
Well, that's super interesting, and well, we're not sponsored by anybody on these
Right, of
podcasts.
course.
Just
I'm hesitant to even mention the name, but
yeah, well, yeah, we can. It's free advertising for them. You
right.
brought up something about that though, which is the ritual of it. And I've
Mm,
talked with a lot of people about that before, and about the benefits of ritual and just like a common habit or that's a positive nature and get you in that space. So I want to unpack that a little bit more. How has that? How does that show up in your leadership? That idea of kind of a
mm.
ritual or a calming practice or something that kind of gets you set for something. How does it show up in your leadership style?
When I think about rituals for me and leadership, the first word that comes to mind is gratitude. So I started a gratitude journal probably maybe 5 years ago now, maybe longer. And I actually started giving journals to my team as Christmas presents to help them begin the practice of gratitude. And I have just found that if you take just a few minutes at the beginning of the day or the end of the day to reflect on your day and think about what you're grateful for, it makes you a much more positive person and you show up in a healthier, happier way. And I think that makes me a better leader. And sometimes my gratitude journal is focused on personal stuff. Sometimes it's focused on career. I mean, I have a lot to be grateful for in terms of the people that I work with and
Mm.
the companies that I get to work with. And I think that ritual of gratitude just helps keep me centered and focused on what's really important in life. And it's not the technology that we're implementing or the cool stuff that we're doing. It's really the people that surround us and what we do for each other as a community. And so for me, gratitude is a big ritual, a big part of my leadership style. I also think about when I think about ritualistic things I do as a leader, I actually have a sticky on my that I keep
Okay.
on my screen that says "Be curious." And so
Mhm.
I think a ritual or a practice of curiosity is really important for my leadership style. I try to constantly ask questions and understand and listen to other people's points of view. I'm a big believer in collaboration. More brains are always better than one. I'm not the smartest person in the room. I don't want to be the smartest person in the room because that means I'm not learning and growing from the other people around me. And I think staying rooted in curiosity and gratitude are really what show up consistently in my leadership style. I hope.
Oh, well, I've known you for a little bit. We don't hang out that much, but we've known each other for about a year now,
Yeah.
and you do really come across that way. So
Thank
I
you.
was gonna say you actually do. You brought up a few things there. So I was gonna ask you on your gratitude journal, do you do that every day, including
Yeah.
the weekends? I mean, it's a continuous
Yeah.
thread, right?
Do it every day. If I don't do it first thing in the morning, I do it right before I go to bed. And I have one of these gratitude journals it actually is a gratitude journal. I started out just with plain journals and just
Mhm.
writing stuff. And then I got to a point where I think someone gave me a gift. They knew I was really into the gratitude practice. And I got a journal that you write 3 things that you're grateful for. You're
Okay.
supposed to do it at the beginning of the day with this journal. And usually I do, but sometimes I get busy in the morning and I do it at the end of the day. But 3 things that you're grateful for that day, 3 things that will make the day a great day, and then one thing that you would like to experience or discover or learn that day. So another big part of my leadership style is growth and development. And I come from 2 parents, one that was in education, one that is a retired military officer,
Okay.
and they both were big into continuous learning. I mean, my dad has multiple degrees. My mom has multiple degrees. I actually am probably the least degreed person in my family, and they're just constantly learning and growing. And I kind of borrowed a statement from my parents that I want to be a better version of myself today than I was yesterday. And I only do that by learning and by growing. And so that aspect of gratitude, not just being grateful for your day, but also kind of documenting what do you want to learn today? How do you want to grow? How do you want to become a better version of yourself is also part of my gratitude practice.
I think that's fantastic. It actually has a direct parallel with the practice of stoic reflection every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, right.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that. I don't know that I would describe myself as a stoic reflector, but I do a little bit. I mean, I definitely do a lot of reflection. I don't know how stoic I am.
Well, it was funny because I just recently did an episode with a friend of mine about stoic leadership, and this is funny you
Oh,
mentioned
yeah.
this; it came up. But I love the a couple of things you have there, that it's gratitude to growth, gratitude to
Mm. Mhm.
learning.
Mhm.
Um, so I find a lot of the growth and learning that happens in my life are probably from my not preferred outcomes.
Yeah, well, that's true. You can learn the most from things that are what you might classify as failures or mishaps or missteps.
So how does gratitude when you've had one of those days, how does gratitude show up for you with that?
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely harder, I think, when you've had a tough day, but I also think it can help shift that mindset.
Mhm.
I mean, I can think of several examples where I've come home and I've just been felt defeated, and something happened at work. I don't maybe there was an incident or a breach that we're dealing with, or
Mhm.
a difficult vendor, or something's not going according to plan. But I think that if you can take a moment to stop and reflect and find something to be grateful for in that moment, even if it's for the lessons that you're learning, it changes your mindset. I just am a big believer in mindset. Have you heard of that book, The Secret?
Yes. Yes, I have.
So some people believe it, some people don't. It's a little woo woo. But the concept, I think, of the law of attraction and what you put out into the world is what comes back at you. I believe that strongly. And my parents actually had me sit down and watch that or read that book when I was probably a teenager.
Mhm.
And then the movie came out and we watched it as a family. And I think the movie was a little, I don't know, not my favorite interpretation of the concept.
Right.
But the concept is one that is really probably a core part of who I am as a person, that we are, I believe very strongly that we are what we think about. And so if we can change our mindset to think about positive things, to find gratitude, even in the most difficult moments, it can change that perspective. So I'm not saying I'm perfect at it. No one is. And there are definitely days when I get down in the dumps and I get frustrated. And I can let it, eat away at me. But trying to shift to some type of a gratitude, form of gratitude in that moment can really be helpful. It also helps me remain calm. I can't say that that is my strength as a leader. I tend to be a very vivacious, large personality in general. And so when things get hyped up at work,
Mhm.
I sometimes kind of can get caught up in the hype. But I think taking a moment to pause and to think about what's really happening to me and what am I grateful for in that moment can help me be that calm in the storm, which is something I think the leaders that I aspire to be like are that way. They're the calm for their team. They're not the hype guy or the person that escalates things. I want to keep things calm for my team.
Yeah, I don't think many people want to have like Ric Flair as their
Right.
manager, woo!
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
For everything, I mean, it has its place. It has its place. And it's interesting you talk there. So I have I actually I actually read the book. I read the book and I've
Did
seen the
you?
show
Yeah.
on there.
Yeah.
I'll take it a little less woo-woo though on
Okay.
it. Um, we really don't get to decide what we're handed, right, in life. It just shows up.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's how we choose to respond to it. And I love it about if you choose to respond to it with gratitude, with a sort of grace on it, it's going to focus how you think inside.
Yeah.
So if you're always thinking about the growth, the positive, the grace of something, the gratitude for it, the learning, the constant learning of it, um, it is actually a neurophysiological pattern where you start to notice things more that you concentrate on.
Yeah, I think
So,
that's true. The one thing I want to comment on that though is just because you're living in gratitude, a
mhm.
place of gratitude, and just because you are a positive person doesn't necessarily mean that everything's always happy go lucky.
No.
And that I actually think friction
Mhm.
and some tension is important to growth. And so I don't while think that I'm a very positive, easy to get along with, generally happy person, and definitely a person that believes strongly in gratitude, I don't shy away from confrontation. I don't shy away from pushing back on things if I think there's an opportunity to learn or to grow or be better. And so I think that's really important. I think there's sometimes people think gratitude and being positive and the law of attraction, what you put out there is what you get back. It means you're just happy all the time. And I don't think that's reality. And I
No,
think
I
that
agree.
there's a place for a little tension, a little confrontation. I mean, I think the whole think about team dynamics, the whole what forming, storming, norming thing. You
Mhm, yeah,
have to go through the storming phase. You have to go through that
you
tension, that conflict, that you know frustration to get to a place where you're performing more optimally as a team. So, I just want that came to mind when you were talking about the concept of gratitude and positivity and all of that.
well, and that's a key point. I mean, just think about grief. You have to go through all stages of grief to get out
Yeah.
the other end. Not because grief, whatever the incident was, whatever happened, gets easier or gets erased or was fun, or even the process was fun. But what it is it is growth based and it is generative. And it is it's the process of processing
Yeah.
the friction or the dissonance or the negatives that makes you
Yeah.
stronger. So then,
Yes.
so you can actually shoulder that because it
Yeah.
doesn't get, if you lose somebody in your life, an example,
Yeah.
that loss doesn't get less heavy. You get stronger.
Hmm.
And I think there's a difference there. You don't want to pray for an easy life or that everything's going to happen and be smooth, because that's not going to grow you the most. That's not going to
Yeah.
that's not going to help push you into the future as a better person and to really become more uh, than you are today. I think
Yeah.
you need those frictions. You need a little bit of resistance. You need a little bit of like competition with life, I guess.
Yeah.
So you can
Absolutely.
show up and you can practice and you can get out there and get on that game, and you don't win every game.
Yeah,
That's okay.
absolutely. I mean, I think what you're talking about is resilience.
Yes.
And that's also something that I'm grateful that my parents, I know I've already mentioned my parents, what, half a dozen times in this conversation. I was raised by some incredible people. And I
Okay.
think resilience was something that they very quick, early taught me. They weren't going to swoop in and fix my problems for me. I had to figure out how to
Mhm.
overcome it. And the attitude that you carry through that type of those types of challenges, whether
Mhm.
it's loss, whether it's whatever it is. I think showing up in a way that you're growing, you're learning, you're overcoming, that's what resilience is. And I think resilience is a really important quality, not just in leaders, but in people in general. Being able to overcome challenges and be able to recognize that you're better for that is such a critical skill. I mean, something I feel like a lot of young people are not learning these days. I'm actually a mentor of some young people,
Mhm.
and I see that they struggle with that. There's the whole helicopter parenting. A lot of parents kind of come in and want to solve problems for
Mhm.
them. And I think that we do kids a disservice when we try to solve their problems and let them figure it out.
Um, I agree. I've got a little medallion back there that says, "Doesn't matter how many times you fall down, only how many times you get up."
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
just keep getting up.
Yep.
Well,
Yep.
life kicked me on my butt and tossed me on the ground again. Okay, get up.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, that's the only plan really that works. What are you gonna do? You're gonna lie on the ground? Oh, sorry, I'm on the ground. Can never go anywhere now.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Or you might be surprised what you learn every time you get up.
yeah.
You might be surprised. Like that getting knocked down and standing back up kind of also makes me think about, the whole concept of when a door closes, a window opens. But if you don't walk through that window or walk through that door, or I guess climb through the window or
You
walk
can
through
dive
that
through it
door,
like a ninja or parkour, and just
however you get through it, as long as you got to go through,
there's
you
a
got to go.
window, you've made it past it.
Yeah, I mean, I we haven't really talked about this, but I'm currently in transition, looking for my next role. My position was eliminated this year. That is something I've never experienced before. Never thought I would experience. Candidly, I've
Mhm.
always had a little bit of confidence about who I am and that I'm a strong leader and I provide value. And I've always had this thought that as long as you're providing value, you'll always have a job. But sometimes there are tough business decisions that have to be made that impact really good people that are doing really good jobs. And that happened to me this year. And I think what I've learned more than anything from that is that I have a lot of other talents and skills, and I have a huge network and a huge community of people that are willing to support me and help me. And I've really gained something throughout this. It's been almost 6 months now that I've been out of work, and I've learned a lot about myself. I think I'm becoming a better version of myself. I'm becoming a better leader, and it's given me an opportunity to tap into skills and talents that I maybe knew I had, but didn't really have the capacity to dip into things like doing podcasts like this and speaking
Mhm.
engagements and stuff that I love to do, but haven't really had, the capacity because I was working a 60-hour a week job.
Yeah, I know the full-time job. It's 40 hours
Yeah,
a week-ish.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I would tell you, anybody early in your career or even just mid your career, the most important job requirement is other duties as required.
Right. Whatever those might be.
Oh, yeah, on the job description, be wary of that one. That one is not your friend.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I've used this quote before earlier in another episode, but you brought it up again. So this is, of course, Star Trek: The Next Generation, Jean-Luc Picard.
Okay.
Okay? You can do everything right and still not win.
That's true. That's 100% true.
Yeah.
But the question I would ask is, did you learn from it?
Right. So what are you going to do with it?
Yeah.
Did you learn with it? Did you then take it to the next level? This goes to the, a door, one door closing, another opens. Or one door
Yeah.
closes, and that maybe that's life saying, hey, stay in the room a moment. 'Cause
Yeah.
I'm going to open a window for you. But know that that is just not the path right now.
Right.
And then it's like, okay, well, what is it? What could it be? And I think that's a good spot to be in. You're talking about, you've uncovered a lot of things that were passions or purpose or under the surface there that you really weren't pursuing because we had the busyness of a full-time job,
Yes. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
gets in the way.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
yeah,
this is the first time I've had a break in 25 years. I've been working since the late
we have this
90s.
thing called paid time off, vacation.
Well,
I'm
I
just
mean,
saying,
yeah, I mean, like a week vacation, maybe 2 weeks, I take vacation. I think that's
Okay.
important. But but I mean, I've had 6 months of kind of uninterrupted,
Mhm.
you know, peace. I mean, that's the first word that comes to mind, and I've been
You
able
sure that's
to.
not the mushroom coffee talking?
No, it could be. I feel like I've really gotten to spend some time with me and really focus on who I am and what I want out of this world and what is my legacy going to be and where do I want to spend my time and who are the important people that I really want to invest in my life. And I don't have children, but my sister lives about 10 minutes on the street and she has 4. And I've spent a lot of time with them. And that has brought so much joy into my life. And I felt like before when I was working, I didn't have as much time to do things like that. I've really dug more deeply into my volunteer work. And I'm on a board for a nonprofit here in Charlotte. And I've gotten to do more with them. And I've really, really focused on building my network and tapping into my community here in Charlotte. And I think I just got a really, really nice text from someone the other day that sent me, just a compliment about how they think I've handled this transition with grace and resilience. And they admire that and they've learned from me. And, but I don't think those are the aspects of gratitude that I find in this time of not bringing in an income, which is also stressful. But I am fortunate that I'm at a place financially where I'm okay for some time and I can really spend the time to focus on what's important to me. And I have a very clear direction of where I want to go next. And I didn't 6 months ago.
I love it. What are the questions that I ask myself? If I didn't
Mm,
have any external requirements on me, what would I do?
mm, yeah. Yeah. It's a great question.
And I guess the answer is I drink coffee and do cool stuff. But
Yeah.
with the
Good answer.
great answer, right? But it's but what you're describing to me is that, I mean, you've removed this external constraint or requirement, even though it did satisfy a lot of things from career, money, stability, I mean, there's a lot of safety and some stuff that goes there as well. There's really good
Mhm.
reasons to have a job. um, but now what you're describing is that space of like, you don't have that external sort of pressure on it, external requirement that is well locked in and ordered. You've given yourself a chance to actually explore a little bit more and
Yeah.
connect with a purpose that probably was already there,
Yeah.
but now you're starting to pay attention to it a little bit more.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I think it's so easy to get into the rat race, especially those of us that work in security. It can be fast paced, it can be high stress, high stakes,
Hmm.
and I think that when you're leading really large global teams and people expect things of you, and I'm a very conscientious, person. I want to deliver. I want to be, successful. I want my team to be happy. I want them to look at me as being a strong leader, all the things. It's very easy to just get caught up in that and not take a break to stop and say, what's most important, and all these activities, all these things that I'm doing, all these actions that I'm taking, are they in um, are they in service of that goal, that purpose? And I learned, I actually hired an executive coach, I don't know, about a year ago,
Mhm.
and I learned that I'm a action my way out of things kind of person. And that was a
Okay.
really good thing for me to learn. Like, I have a strong bias for action. You bring a problem to me, I'm going to fix it, but I'm going to take action immediately. And sometimes taking action too quickly isn't the right thing to do. And so I think in this instance, I've sort of forced myself to stop and to be curious and to ask questions of other people and of myself to really develop clarity in where to go next. And I think that's something I'll remember as a leader when I do step into my next role. That taking immediate action isn't always the right approach.
I can't agree more. I think sometimes um, I've described it as moral courage. Okay,
Yeah, I
M-
like that term.
moral
Hmm.
courage, because sometimes the signal is in the friction.
Yeah.
You don't want to act too quickly. Sometimes when you're a leader like yourself, you realize that the actual value is popping up in that pause
Hmm.
because of the friction. Because within that, you're going to say, "Hey, um, let's take a moment. Let's think about that second, third order impact. Let's see, like, okay, why is there friction here?
Hmm.
Maybe there's something more important we need to look at as opposed to just deciding, acting, deciding, acting, deciding, acting."
Yep.
And it's there's two things I want to bring up. So I want to jump into the concept of how AI here actually comes
Okay.
in, and where there's a leadership trait here of moral courage that we could never give to AI, and there's some very specific
Hmm.
reasons around the authenticity of the of AI in decisioning and leadership. But
Hmm.
I want to talk about, you brought up curiosity a few times here. So
Yeah.
being curious, and a lot of times it's like, hey, something maybe not preferred happened. Get curious about it. Hey, maybe something scary happened. I lost my job, or my job disappeared because the organization said, hey, it went there.
Yeah.
Um, and again, hey, get curious about it. And it sounds to me, and I agree, um, that curiosity is sort of the antidote to fear.
I think so. I think that's a great, yeah, that's a great
That's what I'm hearing. Yeah.
thread to pull. I think, I mean, what do they say? Knowledge is power.
Yeah.
I believe that. I think the more that you can educate yourself, the more that you can learn about things, the more powerful you are. That doesn't mean power in terms of, money, greed, power. I mean, like, be stepping into your own power. And I think power overcomes fear. So knowledge is power. Therefore, educating yourself, being curious, learning does help you overcome fear. I think it also helps. I mean, anyone that says they don't have some imposter syndrome at some point in time is lying to you. Like, I just don't believe that we all are 100% confident in everything we do
No.
all the time.
No.
And I think it helps overcome that. When you have these, I mean, I was at lunch yesterday with these two really brilliant women, a CIO and a CISO, and I was just in awe of them. And I found myself many times throughout the conversation thinking, how did I end up here? How am I talking to these two women? They're so much smarter than I am. And then I was like, stop, Kara, you're here because they value you for some reason. And I decided to step into gratitude and curiosity, be grateful for the opportunity that I had to sit down and have a meal with these brilliant women, and then to ask questions of them, learn from them, understand how they got to where they are, and then figure out, how does that influence my own path? I think that's what you're talking about. I mean, and that's how
It
you
is. So
come here by being curious and educating yourself. I agree. I think that's a great. I had to put those concepts together until now, but thanks for doing it for me.
well, I think so. There's a difference between fear and danger.
Yes,
That's why
sure.
there's two different words, right?
Yes.
And a lot of times we confuse the two.
Yeah.
If it's something scary, it's dangerous. Well, it's not necessarily
Mhm.
that. Fear is really just like this warning light on your dashboard of life that says,
Mhm.
pay attention over here. This could have impact.
Mhm.
Now, I'm very specific about the words. Pay attention. This could have impact, positive,
Mhm.
negative, none
Mhm.
whatsoever. And then
Mhm.
when you bring what you said, curiosity to that. Oh, what is that light on my dashboard? Oh, it
Yeah.
says, I've got 30% left before I have to change my oil. Okay, I don't have to deal with it right now. That's good. That's great maintenance. I'm going to do that later. That's perfect.
Right.
It's you
Mhm.
get curious about it and it removes the fear because
Mhm.
it's when we confound the two and we are not curious about it. We're scared of something, we assume it's dangerous and we immediately move away from it.
Yeah. Well, it's
That's
that
very
natural fight.
reactive, right? And you're
Yeah,
being
it's that
proactive in responding instead of reacting in what you're talking about here.
yeah, I mean, it's that natural fight or flight that we
Mhm.
we as humans just simply can't avoid, you know? And so when something comes up as fear, do you fight? Do you flee? You know, and if you can stop and ask questions, that better informs which action you take, you know? Or maybe there really is no action that needs to be taken at all at that moment. If you really allow yourself the time to be curious and to better understand, you know, is it dangerous or is it something that you're just fearful of?
Right? And
Yeah.
fear and excitement are really close.
Yeah, that's true.
So
That's
if
true.
you look at it and and your first initial, hey, I'm afraid of that, and it's not dangerous, you get curious about it. All of a sudden, you might be like, wait a second, I now get to pursue the things that I've always wanted to pursue. That's actually kind of exciting. I've never done that before.
Mhm.
It's a chance to learn. It's a chance to grow.
Yeah.
You look at, instead of it being an obstacle, it becomes an enabler.
Yes.
So that's a leadership nuance a lot of people miss. And leadership's not just like, hey, I'm an organization, I'm leading people. I talk about self leadership as well.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, you got
I
to.
don't think you can be a good leader of people if you're not a good self leader. I mean, I really don't. I think that, you know, being self aware, being able to manage and control your emotions, you know, understanding what is your true north, you know, what is guiding you in what direction, like those are really important things to know in order to develop strong people leadership
Yeah,
skills.
I agree. You do you, then you can do us.
Yes. Yes.
It's
Yeah.
by putting it in my modern nomenclature. you know,
The way
uh,
the kids understand it these
yeah, you
days.
do you, then you can do us. That's Jason's Uncle Jason's relationship advice for 2026. um, you said something here about imposter syndrome, and I do want to pull on this. You said, "Hey, you know what? These people are fantastic. They're smart. They're brilliant. What am I doing here?"
Yeah.
Um, and I'm gonna tell you something that I did on stage. There's a room full of, I don't know, 800, 500, 800 people, CEOs, surgeons, medical leaders. I mean, just the C-suite of healthcare.
Mhm.
About 800 people, folks. And so I got on stage, and the first thing when I was up there, I looked across the room and I said, "You know what? The first thing that comes to my mind when I look at this crowd, I'm the smartest person in this room." And I let that hang. It did quiet the room down.
Yeah, I bet.
Then I said, "And I'm also dumb as a box of rocks." And here's the thing, that applies to everybody because I am the absolute expert in the things that I'm the absolute expert in. And I'm absolutely carrying a box of rocks of things I am just totally unprepared for. I,
Yeah.
I am just not the expert in these things. And that applies to everybody. And you have to own both sides of that coin.
Yeah.
You are both the smartest person in the room and the dumbest person in the room. They're not mutually exclusive at any
Yeah.
one moment. And when
Yeah.
you're talking with somebody, it's to suss out which rocks, which of your rocks they're the expert in, and which of
Mhm.
their rocks you're the
Mhm.
expert in. So then you can each help each other hold that box of rocks so they weigh less and you can do more.
Mhm. Yeah, you know, I think about I you know, 2 things can be true at the same time, even if they're conflicting, and that's basically what you're saying, right? I mean, I think I had a therapist tell me that early early on, but, you know, 2 things can be true, Kara. Like, you can hate this thing and love this thing at the same time, and so that's what you're talking about. You can walk into a room and you are, absolutely, you are the expert on something far more than anybody else in that room. Maybe it's even just being the expert on yourself. No one else knows you better than you
Mhm.
know you. So if nothing else, you
100%.
are the yourself in that room. It doesn't mean that you're the most educated or that you have the highest IQ or that you have, the best title or you can run the fastest or whatever. But I think part of being evolving and growing as a person is recognizing what you're good at and what you're not,
Mhm.
and and also determining those things that you're not good at. Does it bring you value to improve them or not? Because there are some things that I've just decided, you know what, I'm never going to be good at that. I'm never, and that's okay with me. Like I've accepted that. That is not where I want to spend my time.
Right.
That doesn't bring value to me. So I think that's the other part of that is figuring out where you're the expert and where you're not. And do you want to become or gain more expertise in those areas that you're not? Does that serve you if in your purpose, your goals, your values, or not? Because and that can be hard for some people. I one of the best
Yeah.
people that ever worked for me, one of my favorite people who I coached and mentored, he had this belief that he had to be the best at everything. And I was always constantly telling him, you cannot and will not be the best at everything. So you have to figure out what are the things that are most important to you to be really good at
Yep.
that's going to serve you and your goals. And I think that was a tough thing for that individual to learn, but that's something that I feel like I learned really early in my life, fortunately.
Well, you don't judge a fish on its ability to climb a tree.
Right. Yeah, sure.
And so no matter how much the fish wants to climb the tree and be with the monkeys and up there, sorry,
Yeah.
you know,
It's not your DNA.
not your thing.
Yeah.
Not your thing. So and I love that distinction, but sometimes we have a lot of fish that want to climb trees, or vice versa.
Mhm.
We've got our squirrels in the tree that want to swim the ocean. You
Yeah.
know, n-
They'll
n-
say in the age of AI, if you see a fish climbing a tree, it's not real.
it's not it's not real. Awesome segue. So let's talk about let's the,
Yeah.
let's talk about but when we were before we started recording today, we talked a little bit about AI and authenticity and maybe how that shows up in leadership. We just mentioned about moral courage, and I'm talking about like what, that's not a skill. That's a human responsibility, not something that we can abdicate or give to AI in that space. Um, where are you at with this right now? I mean, because it's everybody's inbox. It's on every TV. It's
Yeah.
on everything. So let's talk a little about AI authenticity or AI in leadership. Where do you think it's got a place, or what's going on that?
Well, so you mentioned the word authenticity. I
Mhm.
think that is the word that I most commonly associate when I talk about AI,
Hmm.
because I think that it's almost two ends of the spectrum in some way. And I think that we as we lean more heavily into AI, and I love AI. AI is great for the right things.
Mhm.
You did a podcast or a quick brief video recently about AI and the things that you think AI does well and shouldn't do well, and I
Mhm.
completely agreed with you.
Mhm.
And there's like some sound bites from that I think I will probably repeat over and
Please
over
do.
again. And I just feel that, as technology is evolving as quickly as it is, and AI is becoming almost foundational to technology. I mean, there's very few tech tools that we use today that don't have some component of AI.
Yeah.
And I think I saw a statistic somewhere that the population of people that are using AI on a regular basis, Claude or ChatGPT, is growing exponentially.
Mm.
I think it's important for us to lean even more into our humanity, and I think our humanity is what makes us authentic.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is there are things that AI does really, really well, and there are things that AI should never do for us. I think one of the things that you mentioned that I've always talked about is judgment. Like
Yeah.
we can use AI to help inform the decisions that we make, but we have to use our human brains to make the right judgment calls. I also think we can never expect AI to replace emotions,
Yeah.
empathy, curiosity, integrity. Those are the things to me that people talk all the time. Oh, AI is going to take all of our jobs away. I don't believe that. I
Mm.
really don't. Do I believe that AI will take some jobs? Yes. I also think it will create other jobs, and I think it will make humans even more important because we have to lean into what makes us unique and authentic as humans. So the question to me becomes, how do we know what's real and what's not real? How do
Yeah,
we know what's authentic and what's inauthentic? How do we build trust? Trust is something that is, in my opinion, uniquely human.
it is.
And I think trust is the cornerstone for so many things. Having a strong leader means, having trust in that. Being a strong leader means having trust in that leader, building trust amongst your teams, creating a fabric of trust in your organization. And so the problem with AI is AI is breaking that trust because we see things and we're like, is that real? Is it not real? I don't know. And it starts to break down our ability to trust our own senses.
Yes.
Deepfake. I don't know if that is true. I'm looking at it with my eyes, I'm listening to it with my ears, but I don't know if it's real or not. And that's where it gets really tricky. And I don't know if I have a lot of good answers other than we have to continue to keep a human in the middle. We have to continue to validate. We have to have the right controls in place. We have to be curious and ask questions. And we can't just, as so many people I know are using AI in a way that they're not validating at all. And I also worry that, I'll admit I've used AI a lot in my job search. I'll use AI to help me tweak a presentation or a speech that I'm giving when I have a speaking engagement, but I write it. I don't let AI write it for me. And when they give me suggestions, I always want to know what the sources are. Always want to validate that the information that you're giving me is accurate. Funny little story. I went to a New Year's Eve party, and one of the game, they're big game people.
Okay.
We had a lot of fun, and one of the games they played was a basically handed out a questionnaire to we broke up in teams, and there were key dates of things that happened throughout the course of 2025.
Okay.
And we had to
Okay.
guess, like, when it happened, like when did the Pope die, and when did we, define,
Okay.
there was a new Pope, or when was Trump elected, or when did this particular basketball star make some record. And so the guy that did the that set it all up
Yeah.
used AI to do it. And as we're going through it, reading the answers, we realized he didn't validate any, and almost 50% of his dates were wrong.
Uh-huh.
And so we're all laughing about what an epic fail this game was. Great in concept, but because you used AI, this guy's in technology, he knows better. you know, didn't validate any of the dates and the results, and he just took AI's word for it, and it was all wrong. For 50% of it, at least, was wrong. And it made for a good, funny story and a unique experience for the guests at the party, but it totally ruined the game.
Change the game.
Right.
So now it's like, which of these are valid and which are not?
Right. Right. Like a couple of the things that he put in there didn't even happen in 2025. Like they happened a
You know,
year or 2 years earlier.
Benjamin Franklin was negotiating with the French on what date in
What's that?
2025? Yeah, that brings up a huge point. I think AI right now, we're at an inflection point. You literally have folks who are using AI, like you're talking about, to make themselves better, faster, stronger, amplify. So
Yeah.
amplify and augment, which I think
Yeah.
is where AI was. And then yet we have other people who are thinking it's this ease, do my job, replace my thought, replace
Hmm.
my
Hmm.
judgment, replace my agency. And
Yep.
with this quick, easy answer right here. And there's a
Yep.
small piece right here when you make adjustment there with like, yeah, you may still get benefit out of that for the short term. But what happens right now, and we're seeing it, there's a few studies out there right now, which are just terrifying. As people are using AI more, their cognitive ability is literally declining.
Yeah. Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
declining. And
Yeah.
when you give it away and you just take the answer, you're giving away your critical faculty to do that work. And
Hmm.
you're going to be quickly sliding down this area into idiocracy.
Hmm.
And the folks who are using AI to actually get better, faster, stronger, they're going to be accelerating. And there's this huge coming gap right now where the folks who are trying to ease their way into it, where, yeah, your job is going to be replaced, even your job in your life, your
Yeah.
position, what you should be doing in your life, you're giving it away. Stop it. Don't do that. So it's like going to the gym with AI as your partner. And so when you go there to the gym and you say, "Hey, look, AI, go ahead and lift the weights for me. Go ahead and do the bench press, do the back pulls, do all that kind of stuff. Do my aerobics for me. I want to get an extra mile in today, so run on that treadmill for me for today." And then leaving and then doing that time and time again. Well, what happens is over time, yes, you went to the gym. Yes, weights got lifted. Yes, you're now noodly arm and out of shape because you didn't improve at all. Now, the other side of that is saying, "Hey, I'm gonna go to the gym with my AI partner, and my AI partner is my coach, my strength coach, and my health coach." And AI is gonna say, "Okay, let's increase that weight. Let's do a little bit better. Let's mix it up a little bit. Let's get you better, faster, stronger." And every time I'm there, it's they're coaching me along the way, and I'm lifting those weights, and I'm doing the same thing. So externally, now, okay, I've gone to the gym, weights were lifted, but I'm lifting them. And I become stronger, better, faster because of it. And it's that split right there. People are, I'm noticing folks are wanting to have AI do the work for them. And that's the wrong model. And it's like, and we talk about like where does this fit in with leadership, and where does it go to that component? It's okay, absolutely okay to have AI help you write an employee evaluation. Help me structure my words a little bit better. Help me get some of these things across. Work on my grammar. We've been using spell check and grammar check forever. Same thing. Use that. Give me some insight. What are some other great research things that might apply here? That's a great use of using AI as a leader in a leadership capacity in an organization. The absolute wrong way is to say, "Hey, AI, write me Kara's evaluation so I can hit send and go."
Right. Yeah, I think someone said to me, this AI is a tool.
Mhm.
That seems like a really simple and obvious statement, but that to me is a really meaningful thing to remember. AI is a tool. It's just like any other tool that we use. It should help us be better. It may help us be faster, may help us be more efficient. But, you know, a toothbrush is a tool. But if you don't use that toothbrush to brush your teeth in a consistent way, you're going to get cavities. In the toothbrush in and of itself is not going to do the job for you. So I think that's the important thing. And I think it's also important to realize that AI can amplify what's already there, or both positive and negative. And so, I try to use AI for ways that make me. So if I feel like I need to write a contentious email, I have trained my chat agent to like know my voice, my leadership voice. I
Mhm.
mean, it's taken time. I've put leadership quotes in there. I've put books in there that I really like. I've shown it, like I've rewritten emails that it's written for me. And I said, nope, that's not what I would sound like. I sound like this. And so now I feel comfortable if I have to write, a contentious email, I'll write it myself, and then I'll put it into my agent and it will rewrite it to make it maybe a little softer, to maybe make it sound a little bit more friendly, not so to the point, because I have a tendency to be very direct in my communication, sometimes too direct. And that's, but it's still me and I'm still doing the work. I'm using it to elevate what I've already done and to make my work, to amplify my work in some way, hopefully for the better, but it doesn't change who I am. And my fear is that your your everyday citizen is not taking the time to train the AI to do what I've done, to really communicate the way I
Right.
would normally communicate. They're just say, "Hey, write this email for me. Hey, complete this project for me. Hey," I mean, I've seen my sister's kids use it to create presentations. And I'm like, you would never do that completely on your own. So, like, let's take a step back and let's figure out, can you create like a draft or do some part
Yeah.
of it on your own and then run it through AI to maybe amplify or elevate what you've already done? But don't let it do the work completely for you. And so
That's
I
the
think
key.
That's the key, in my opinion, to remaining authentic in the age of AI is reminding yourself that it's a tool to leverage, not replace what you're already capable of doing.
Um, 1,000% agree. 1,000% agree. I may or may not have had my AI agent rewrite an email where I was referring to a certain project as a dumpster fire
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
the executive in charge of it as a trash panda. Um, honestly, the email at the end was much better than that.
Yeah, of
It
course.
worked out much better than that. Probably a good career move on my part. To
Yeah.
actually use it. Why just soften this up a little bit and make it a little bit more executive because I'm not in a space right
Yeah.
now where I really want to contemplate that. Because I want to
Yeah.
say it's a dumpster fire, and I want to say,
Yeah.
how can I do that
There's a
in an
lot of things that
executive
I would
tone?
wanna say that I know I shouldn't, right? And yeah,
I've got
yeah. And I
principal
think
faculty working saying, probably not a great idea, Jason. Why don't you
right,
check with a friend?
right. Yeah, yeah. Well, and I think so, like, going through a job search, I've used AI a lot to tailor my resume to a specific job description. But you know
That'd be
what?
perfect these days.
Occasionally, AI has put things in there that are not true. And so I've had to go back through and I've had to say, "Hey, I didn't do this. Please remove this," and like make sure I remind it, like, I want you to tailor my resume to this job description, but don't make up stuff about me that's not true.
Yeah, when I was
And
lead engineer at SpaceX,
exactly, yeah. But I wonder how many people, and I don't, I'm not challenged. I wonder how many people are really going back and doing that due diligence to read every line that AI is producing to say, is this truly accurate? And my fear, I know we talked about fears earlier, so this is why we're talking about this, to
Huh?
educate, to be curious, to learn more. But my fear is that we're going to become a very vanilla society.
Oh God.
We're all going to have emails that are written by chatbots and that are not unique to who we are. I think I saw a meme on social media where someone walks into a store and the person behind the counter says, "Hi, what can I help you with?" And he goes, "ChatGPT, what do I need help with?" And he reads what ChatGPT said, and the person behind the counter said, "ChatGPT, he said he needed da da da. What do I say back?" And he reads what ChatGPT says. And it's like we've completely lost our ability to our cognitive ability, like you talked about, our ability to communicate, our ability to engage, our uniqueness as a society, as individuals, as human beings. And that's what I worry about. I want to leverage AI for positive ways to create efficiencies, to help us get smarter, to help us get faster, to find problems and mistakes that we, the human eye, may not see. But I don't want it to replace who we are as unique human beings. We need to be human. That's what we are. We are human beings, so we need to be human and use AI as a tool, but maintain our authenticity.
Yeah. We cannot ever, nor should we ever, give up the human responsibilities to AI.
Yeah. Amen.
We just should.
Yeah.
All right. How about this? Rapid fire. One sentence, no overthinking.
Okay.
Game?
I'm sorry.
I
What was
said you
that?
game for that?
Yeah, I'm game. Let's do it. Yeah.
All right. Strategy without execution is
Pointless.
okay. The most overrated leadership trait is
Overrated leadership trait. Um, Talking just to hear your voice.
okay. Pontification.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love that one. Trust. We talked about trust. Trust is built fastest when a leader.
Is curious.
Awesome. Real alignment feels like.
Collaboration.
Oh, yeah. Psychological safety is misunderstood as.
Friendliness.
Huh. And the fastest way to lose good people.
Don't invest in them. Don't listen to them.
Bang. All bangers. Way to go. Is there anything we didn't talk about today that we need to talk about?
How do you take your coffee?
I take my coffee in a variety of ways. It's usually an Americano, black in the morning, through a ritual. It's a very nice
Yeah,
little setup of stuff. But yeah, that's how I usually it's an Americano. But all
yeah,
bets are off after 1 o'clock when I'm into whatever wherever the wherever the
yeah.
winds of change take me. So,
Absolutely. Yeah. So what I have a question for you.
hmm.
What is one kind of lesson or something that you've learned from this podcast experience, from interviewing people, having conversations, or ruminating on your own thought leadership? What's something that you've learned from running this podcast?
That's a great question. Nobody's asked me that one. I'm going to say that if you've ever seen that metaphor where there's the iceberg, a little tip on top, and
Yeah.
all the depth underneath,
Yeah.
that has been driven home so much with me right now that the
Mm,
person you see on the podcast or in the boardroom or in the street or in an event or just in a conversation is just barely the tip of the iceberg.
yep.
That the depth of people, and you will and you don't know where it could go behind that, and it is infinitely interesting, and folks are infinitely deep and infinite experts on
Yeah.
things you would never guess. So for
Yeah.
me,
I mean, this conversation went definitely in directions I didn't expect and went a lot deeper and a lot more philosophical than I expected. And I loved every minute of it.
ditto. You willing to come back someday? We got more stuff to talk about.
I would love to come back.
All right, awesome. Thank you very much, Kara. If people want to follow your work or get in touch with you, how can they do that?
Yeah, the best way is to find me on LinkedIn, Kara Schlageter, Kara Martin Schlageter on LinkedIn. I am currently, as I mentioned, in between roles, but I do a lot of strategic advisory work and a lot of public speaking. I'm actually building a speaking business on the side. So I predominantly talk about authenticity in the age of AI, the human side of cybersecurity, how to make your cybersecurity team more of an enabler to the business rather than a detractor. So if you're looking for topics like that, hit me up.
Fantastic. I follow her. You should too. Uh,
Thank you.
thanks a lot.